How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How
Andre?
are you?
Good to see you.
Thanks.
You guys doing all right?
We're doing great.
Get out of his contract for Remington Steel.
We're gonna get started in about 5 minutes, but because of the Giants game, the parking's pretty bad, so we just have a couple more people and give them one more opportunity to kind of get a spot. Wow. Me, but I hope you can all hear me. Yeah? All right. Thank you everybody, and welcome to Transmedia SF. This whole event is all about going over what happened last weekend, which is the Transmedia Jam. Before we go into that, I just want to introduce Brandon. Come on down.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I could start. Sorry.
Wherever. Welcome, and we're very excited to have you guys. You are in the home of Westernized Productions, Elastic Creative, and Rough House Editorial. And Elastic Creative and Westernized are presenting tonight with Transmedia, or co-hosting. And basically we are a digital agency that focuses on doing high-end storytelling for corporate America, for also broadcast television, interactive experiences, and kind of just runs the gamut. So very similar to Transmedia, and hope we'll have a chance to collaborate with you folks in the near future. And then I'm also the chair for the Producers Guild Northwest. And for those of you who don't know about the Producers Guild, we are a nonprofit organization that represents, protects, and promotes the interests of all members of the producing team. And we also have some really, really great benefits that I'm going to quickly read, and then also tell you what producers would be eligible, because most people think they wouldn't be, and because most of us are new media centric, I think it's important you guys know, and hopefully that you take some interest and come talk to me about potentially becoming a member. So we have access to various resourcing staffing resources and employment opportunities. We have deeply discounted registration for events here in Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco. We also have seminars in all those locations. We have a PGA members-only multi-tiered member mentoring program, which is really cool. So you could sign up and get involved with other mentors who maybe are Hollywood producers and whatnot. We also have a year-round screening program, and we also send screeners to your home during the screening season. So you'll get about 30 different screeners for nominated movies in producing. And that includes folks who, the producing team includes folks like the executive producers, co-executive producers, supervising producers, senior producers, co-producers, associate producers, segment producers, field producers, story producers, visual effects producers, supervisors, coordinators, post-production supervisors, and managers. So for those of you who think maybe you weren't, encompassed in that umbrella, you probably are, and I'd love you to come talk to me if you're interested in joining. And thank you for being here tonight.
Great, thank you. And thank you for letting us into your house.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And catering, so thank you.
Yeah.
Westernized provided all the Thai food that you guys enjoy.
Oh, that's
Right? So now I actually want to thank the person who invited us to his house last weekend for the Transmedia Jam. Jason, why don't you come on in and say hey?
Hey!
Oh, sorry.
Where'd you go?
Oh, I'm over here. Go ahead.
So, thank you guys all. It's great to see a lot of kind of familiar faces here. A lot of people were over at Fordella last weekend for 48 hours of insane creativity. So, congratulations. I'm really looking forward to tonight and kind of reviewing all of the great works that were created. Last week we talked a little bit about Fordella and why Fordella is a big part of Transmedia and why we're really interested in kind of helping this effort. And one of the things I haven't really gone into a lot of, obviously talked a lot about our platform, we've talked about our technology, and it's about video hosting and collaboration. But more importantly, why we created the platform that we created. My background was I worked at Lucasfilm for about 10 years. I was a techie guy. I was in a very creative space. And my job was to build technology that enabled our creative folks at Lucasfilm to be able to tell their stories and be able to distribute and sell their products as well. So the product that we've developed at Fordella has really been based out of the creative space. It's not a technology-based tool that's supposed to be intimidating and scary. And so what I'm really looking for is, as you all are kind of using our platform, really giving feedback to myself and other members of Fordella, and really kind of helping us understand what we can add to our technology to make it even more robust and more friendly for kind of content creators, studios, and producers to use the technology. So, thanks again for all you guys that used the tool last weekend. It was great kind of reviewing the applications and logging in and seeing Fordella's name and seeing how you guys use the tool. We really love it and really appreciate it. And thank you to Justin and Beth and Maya for doing such an awesome job with this thing.
Yeah. certainly from our end, it's because of everyone that's actually here as sponsors that make it so that we're actually able to do all this and bring you guys some fun and bring you guys some education and actually start working on some projects. So thank you so much for inviting us to your house and letting us actually work and get to jamming. So
I was looking for you guys on Monday and no one showed up. I
was so close to actually showing up Monday morning. It's like, all right, I'm here.
I think we still have pizza in the fridge.
You might want to throw that out. Great, and we also have X2 TV in the house, I think. Is that right?
Yep, there we are.
Yeah, awesome. So X2 TV was one of our platform sponsors. Did you guys want to give a quick little hey?
Sure. Have the video for them?
Hi guys, thanks for coming. X2 TV was an optional platform in the Jam last weekend, which was awesome. And basically, the story behind it is it's an HTML5 overlay inside the video player. So anything you can do in HTML5, HTML you can do on top of a video while it's playing. So that includes e-commerce, it includes polls, it includes quizzes for educational reasons. Basically, we wanted to get involved because there's so many different ways to use it, and we were curious how people would take advantage of it. So yeah, thank you for having us. Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. One of the nice things was X2 TV was actually there throughout most of the jam itself, and you guys not only were helping out with X2 TV, but you're also there as mentors, and as you kind of get yourselves involved in other platforms, and it was pretty exciting. And I'd say in general, it was really exciting from like an actual event developer side to actually see everything play out. And you guys were all were there, and we've got a number of people that are in the house. Who is here that was, if you guys could just raise your hand or stand up, that actually participated in the jam? Go on, come on. They had the whole back row. So all these guys are the jammers. These are the people that actually got themselves involved in it, and it was fun to actually see you guys get involved in this process. So thank you guys for being there, and thank you guys for just creating. So yeah. With that, we'll go ahead and go into our presentation.
Presenting. So, just a little quick note is that we're going to post all the projects because a lot of them are very involved. It's very hard to go into each one. So they're all going to be posted, all the links on our Facebook page and our website. So we're going to go over how we created this whole story world called the Transmedia Jam, because this is beyond just a project. It's something that we got involved through and through, just creating, producing an event, and then actually playing through it. Okay.
Is that anyone? No?
What color?
A white? Something? Nissan? All right.
No?
All right.
Sorry, not nice. Yeah. So, we wanted to create something that was, as we set up to do the meetups in January, we always knew that there's going to be a next stage. There's going to be something beyond just the meetups. The meetups are where we meet our community, and the jam was our first step into. So now that we know the community, how can we actually do something beyond that? And we decided to test this. How do we do this jam? And the idea is, what recipe do you create to do a jam? Because it's not a regular thing. It's this new idea, and the new idea comes from a lot of worlds. It comes from the hackathons. It comes from the idea of a jam session where each person brings their tools and together they create wonderful melodies. It comes also from game jams where over the course of a weekend you rapid prototype a game. But because Transmedia is such a new concept and it's still gelling and being created, we wanted to play with those worlds and kind of take the concept of each one and see how in one weekend, and it was just a Friday and Saturday event, what can come out with our very, very talented community.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the big thing about it was, as Maya said, just taking what's happening with hackathons and with game jams and things like that, and actually starting to put it to story and storytelling, and be willing to fail and be willing to just kind of test things out. So it was quite an experience.
It was quite an experience, and the idea is there's going to be many more of these, and this whole convergence world between technologists and creatives, and if you put them all in the same room, what happens? So we're very, very excited about that. Yeah. And again, note to our wonderful sponsors because they were really awesome. So we've got Fordello and X2 TV, and I haven't seen Aaron from Social Samba here yet. And Conductor, who is a British-based social story, well, more of a pervasive entertainment platform, was with us the whole weekend from England at 4 a.m. in the morning, checking up on us. Is everybody okay? It was really great. The Social Samba team was there helping our community create wonderful projects as well.
And the platforms were absolutely incredible. And you know, each one of these platforms just, you know, it's what made it possible.
Yeah. So we had very, very novel goals and small goals. We're like, okay, this is the first one. We definitely want to build upon it. So create our first very Transmedia Jam, help foster community, set a goal for 4 to 6 finished projects. We actually got 6. Create our own Transmedia Jam project while producing the event. So we decided, and this is something we decided at the beginning of creating Transmedia SF in January, was we're going to eat our own dog food. We're not just going to talk about transmedia, we're going to actually create transmedia. So we decided to do the pretty crazy idea of jam while producing the jam, while doing the media blitz, while trying to get sponsors. And we had 2 months to do this. So it was a fun experiment, like how do we push our own envelope as a team, so we're not only just a production team, but we're actually a transmedia production team. So what we accomplished is 6 projects completed, 4 awesome platforms sponsored, 1 great Fridella, 1 remote team, which was a lot of fun. It was actually Seattle and Vancouver, 1 person in Vancouver, 4 people in Seattle, working with, I was their remote coordinator, working with us through Google Hangouts, and basically going through the jam. I mean, down to when we were starting the jam, we had them on the Hangout on a laptop, moving them with us and talking to them. And it was a great experience to see that Transmedia is not a local San Francisco thing. There's a huge international community, and they're looking in San Francisco to see what's happening. And that's really what our goal is, to establish San Francisco as also one other thing besides everything that this amazing city and area is about, also a transmedia place where, again, the convergence of tech and storytelling can come together.
We also had 2 people who came in from Ohio to participate. So they flew in from Ohio, they came in and they joined a team, and by near end of day Saturday they had to like get to their plane, you know, or head off to the next destination. But you know, for them it was one of those like they really wanted to experience it, they really wanted to be a part of it, so they decided to just, you know, jump on board and like get in there, and then after they were able to accomplish what they could, they went off, but they wanted to stay in contact. So.
Oh yeah, I know that. I didn't even know that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a team from Ohio.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, the last point of a lot of media buzz, we really want to create a lot of media buzz, because I think transmedia is not a new form, but a new way of intentional creating stories and working with media versus the old guard. And there's a lot of awesome books about what's happening right now in the world. It's definitely a great space to start when you're looking at how do you tell a better story in this, you know, brave new world. And I think that is part of what we wanted to create.
So we got some photos here.
Yeah. So Jason from Fridella, Justin, so do you want to go over some of the photos?
For the event itself, you know, everyone got together, we started off, and the intention was if you've never been in a group or you didn't come in with a group, that's okay, that this is an opportunity to meet people and kind of develop a team. So the first thing was, you know, chatting with people and getting them to mingle with one another, getting them to know one another. So we played some games, and maybe in the next few meetups we'll actually play those games with you guys. And we just got people to actually get to know one another and get to start like talking with them and starting to think about transmedia. And so what you see here is just some of that media, or some of that mingling going on. But once that mingling happened and once the groups were formed, the next thing is that we actually, you know, put the teams together. So the teams were put together and they were given a number of parameters to work around. The first was we gave them 5 ingredients, and of those 5 ingredients you had to choose 3 of them for your project. So the 5 ingredients was to use one of the sponsoring platforms, whether it's Fordella, Conductor, Social Samba, or X2TV. The other is that the main character is a personified object. So it could be, you know, the hearts of San Francisco. It could be, you know, the actual like buildings in the area. There was a lot of interesting things that were being done with that particular ingredient. The next one was work with another team to create a bigger story world. And that was actually an ingredient that a lot of people had ideas for. Some people had some thoughts on how they were going to go about doing it. But in the end, no one actually ended up doing that ingredient. But it was still something out there about like developing a bigger transmedia world with the teams that were there. The 4th ingredient was using a San Francisco landmark. So any landmark, just pick something that is San Francisco and put it in your story somehow.
And the great thing is when we opened the window in the office, saw the Transamerica building just out there. So I think it appears in every project, except the Seattle Vancouver.
Well, yeah, what happens. And then the fifth ingredient was that idea of telling a story in real time, so something that happens as like it's supposed to be happening, or whatever real time means to you. And so those were the 5 ingredients, and each of the teams then, once they were put together, went back and they started, discussing, putting things on whiteboards. We had actually these paddles. We had Clean Slate. They ended up sponsoring us, and they gave us these little tiny whiteboard panels, and everyone would, write down their ideas, and they'd be able to present them, and erase them off, and then present another one. And they ended up becoming a really interesting part of the development process because people were able to, rapidly, create ideas and generate them. And Beth, are you trying to find one right now?
Yeah.
These things are great. I mean, we didn't quite know how people were going to use them, but we thought for sure people could. And here they are. So this is, Clean Slate was one of our other sponsors, and they provided us, and they come with a pen, and they come with a little eraser and a little whiteboard thing.
Yeah.
So people would actually just put their ideas down and start working off of them, and they ended up becoming really great, creative development.
Do you want to talk about one of our favorite teams?
Oh, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
And so anyway, so people just started kind of putting together ideas and concepts, and that's sort of what happened. The other part of it was, as soon as everything was mentioned to you, you had 24 hours. So the Seattle-Vancouver team was on the same timeline, and at 8:10 Pacific Standard Time, we said you've got 24 hours from this point. So 8:10 on Saturday night, that's when everything was delivered. And the intention was that everyone delivers a story. It's not about delivering a pitch, and it's not saying we really want to do this, and we really want to do that, and we want to do this. It was no, you're just going to do it. You got 24 hours to tell a story.
And actually create an experience that if we give it to somebody else, which we did, we gave it to the judges, they can actually go through it and have their own experience at their own time. So, the difference between a presentation is you just present, and here is actually something finished. And the idea, we didn't expect people to create a multi-platform, over-the-top story, but people actually managed to create something that worked with social media, worked with Twitter, worked with all the platforms, so it was actually very exciting to see what they could come up in 24 hours.
I mean, we had a team actually as well, rapidly prototype and develop an iOS app. It was what?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
That was
amazed.
pretty cool.
So anyway, so that was the jam itself, and they were able to kind of, everyone was put it together, and at that point, Friedel offered the space and the place, and they made it happen. This is the remote Vancouver Seattle team.
Yeah, this is the remote Vancouver team, and this is Robert Pratten of Conductor, probably talking to us either at 11 a.m. or at 4 a.m. at his time, or whenever he was talking to us. And he was there the whole weekend. The team really got together. It was actually very great to see, because this is, the more we talk about Transmedia, it's a collaboration between the different silos, and it's very important to know how to navigate inside a group that is so diverse. And this team just was awesome, and they just, without knowing each other, just got into it, created a pretty great project, and winners at the end of the day, because really, there's one winner of the jam, but I think people who came and experimented this are all winners, because it's not an easy thing to wrap your head around. It's so new, and the way of thinking is very new. So we're very, very excited to see the results.
Well, and one of the big things for us as well is, trying to find a way to actually connect people wherever they may be digitally. I mean, we're at a time and a place now where we can do that, so why not do that? And so it was great to be able to test that out with this team, and they embraced it fully. And you can see this window. I know it's kind of small here, but the photos are all on Facebook. But they were all wrapped around a computer, and all of them are, there's a team inside one house all kind of working away, and they're on Google Hangout talking with somebody else who's down, and it's just they were trying to make it work, and that's just how they made it happen.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty impressive. And for us, it was definitely one of those steps of for the next time, and as well for the further development of our community. I mean, how can we start connecting people around the world to this community? So yeah. This is more jamming, so at the end of all of it, we did have presentations. People went together, and they would showcase all the things that they did. Everyone would be able to listen to them, and then afterwards we all had a beer and hung out and had a good time. So anyway, so that was the jam itself. And from here, when it started transitioning into, like, you know, what Maya was saying is that there's also an additional, you know, curveball thrown, which is the idea of like telling a story, telling a transmedia project from the organizers themselves. So that's one of the things I was heading up and I was kind of working on as well. This is planning the Transmedia Project Jam.
Well, and I think, you know, one of the reasons why we wanted to do it is because, you know, we want to bring more case studies to how to create transmedia to our community. And we decided to create the project so we can actually talk about the case study as well. So we're A, pleasing our community, and B, also experimenting together what it is to create this kind of postmodern experiment of telling a story about the story that you're in. And, you know, so the Transmedia Jam project, the way we planned it, and my love is mind maps, is that we actually created all these different mind maps to actually see where everything is going. And I'll run you through 1 second of it. We have 3 levels of a Transmedia universe. Our level, which is what is happening. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so the idea was like to tell a transmedia story, if you're telling like stories on multiple levels and you're actually able to tell different stories, but they're all part of the same universe. So in this particular case, the idea was it's like, well, why not the transmedia universe be the Transmedia Jam itself?
Yeah.
And so on the top level is what's actually happening. It's kind of like a documentary, you know? It's like we're documenting what's working, what's not working, how we're putting it together, and how to put together a Transmedia Jam event. So that story is about the trials and tribulations that we as a team went together to make this thing happen. And we'll get into that and how that all kind of fits into it. But then the next part of the story was this idea of, it's like, well, what if it's like, then there's a story about the jammers who take place in the jam itself, but, you know, we should probably create fake jammers to do that and not actually ask jammers to do it. So we created 4 fake jammers that would go through it, and we'll kind of go through that itself. And so they are characters, and their story arcs all are based around what actually happened at the jam. And then the third layer is the project that they actually completed themselves. These fake jammers that actually don't exist. The project that they completed using the exact same ingredients that everyone else had in the same conditions of, like, you have 24 hours to, you know, write, produce, and develop this thing. And so with all of that, it was like, yeah, we can create, you know, a 3-tiered event in which it's like you can experience each one of those and experience them separately, or you can experience them all as one whole and get something even bigger out of it. And so that was that first challenge. The second challenge was, how can we use the sponsors?
Yeah. And that's definitely one of the things that we did. We were hosting the videos, and some of the videos of the documentaries are not done yet. They're going to go online, and we're going to continue creating it. But we'll host them on Fordella. We'll work with X2TV to also create kind of a portal for all this information because of the layering. So, you know, people can actually experience the whole story world. And also, we use the social samba level for the second level to tell one of the stories, and we use conductor for the third level. So we actually literally ate our own dog food. We experimented with all 4 and tried to see actually how, if we were the jammers, how would it actually would feel. So we can actually give the reports and also be very, very helpful for our jammers while they're jamming, because we were also extra mentors. Yeah.
You know, and for us, it was like going into it was this idea of, well, it's like, well, how do you start? You know, when you're telling a story like that and something that was so dependent on all the different levels, how do you go ahead and start, you know, telling that story? And so I started like at the third level. You've got 24 hours, you've got the ingredients, you know, how do you tell a story? And so we worked together and we created this sock story, you know? So we write a story that the 4 jammers would come up with, you create a story and the characters, design original artwork, give the same restrictions to the actual jammers, and you implement it in Conductor. So the idea is like Conductor was this tool that is like, yeah, we could really do some really fun things with there. And so the idea with that was to kind of create this choose your own adventure story. And so we got the best sock story ever created, you know? And what you would do is that you would go in and you'd put in your email, and from there you would get a series of emails that, depending upon the paths you would go, you'd have a different experience. And so you would, you know, you'd be the sock, you were lost in the laundry, and as you were lost in the laundry, you had to make your way back to the sock drawer, and as you're going along the sock drawer, you met all these different characters along the way. And so you would go through and you'd have all these like emails that would come through, and you'd be like, you know, following it through. And so we went through it, we built this thing, and we had issues and we had problems, you know. We weren't able to use the platform as well as we'd hoped, and we had all these big ideas of how we did it, but the entire time we're documenting, it's like, well, we've already spent 12 hours working on this, like, you know, we can't implement this other idea or whatever it may be. And so the final story is what it is, and you know, you tell it through Conductor, and you can go to it right now. You can just go ahead and email Sock'em at Hotmail and, write in the subject line, follow my story, and it'll follow you all the way through, and you can start experiencing it. And, if you do start doing it, there's like 8 endings, This is Maya loves mind map, so, when I presented to her, it's like, this is what's going on, she mapped it,
Because I was putting it into Conductor, and because there's different ending, like and this is actually, for me, a great tool for how to work with interactivity on a platform for telling a transmedia story. So, just really quick, this is a different endings. Each level is a different ending, and then you can't see it, but there's links to each one. Oh, if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, then this happens. And it's a great tool for me as not, I'm a high-level end user, but I'm not a coder. So for me, it was a great experiment to see, hey, if I want to try and break Conductor by myself, how do I actually approach it? And, you can use it and it actually works. I mean, the beautiful thing is it's very simple. The email you send, that we send, and we're going to have everything on our website, there is an interaction. You actually tell a story. And yes, it is email and it's very simple, but we've already created it. It's done. Anybody at any time can go in and experiment it in real time for them, back and forth with the character in a very, very, very simplified manner. So, giving the indies the tool to actually create by themselves, which is really, really empowering.
And they're adorable illustrations.
Yes,
thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
So Paul's one of the members of Transmedia SF, and he also jumped on to help tell this particular story. And
did all the logos, and he's a multi-talented guy.
So anyway, so that was that first level. So the next level was this idea of, it's like, well, what about the jammers themselves? That's the second level. And so we decided, we'll tell it through social samba, We developed 4 characters. We created arcs similar to the actual experiences. So at some point it was like, let's not write this until after we've gone through the jam itself. So after the jam, as we as mentors and people who were there started seeing, it's like what people were having difficulties with. And we actually started creating like arcs for these fake characters. We've got Gib, who's actually here. We have Rosie, who's this brain in a jar. So it's actually like a brain that was sculpted. Kathy's in the bag, and she actually ended up sculpting it, and she put it in the jar and like give it like sunglasses and headphones. I mean, it's like a full-on character. And then we've got Thaddeus, who's this little robot, and then we have Ash, who's a 8-bit pixelated character, And so we created this, fake story based around, these 4 characters. The jammers would be the ones writing and so these guys would be the ones that wrote the sock story. So based off of that, whatever sort of story arcs that we put in there, we had to have them that should be reflected into the final story that they told as well. So that was part of the development of their storyline, was figuring out, it's like, well, why would they have the sock, meet Fernando on the staircase and, lead to this and this, and so it was like they had to pull it from their own experiences, but it's their own individual story. So we shot a number of photos throughout the event. So here they are at the actual 5-hour energy drink, and like, hey, look, they're working on Conductor, and like, here's them presenting. I know it seemed odd at the time that we took this weird photo, jammers, and I'm sorry, but like, look, they're actually presenting, And so that was why we did it. It was that, we were working on this other project, and, it's like, it's as if they were actually presenting as if the other teams were presenting. And so that was part of what we were doing. You can experience it on the Transmedia Jam Facebook page. You can kind of go down to the Saga channel, and then from there, their whole story plays out. Beth, I don't know if I told you this. You're a character.
And I'm a character too.
And Maya's a character, Lisa's a character, I'm a character. Yeah. And so we are actually interacting with the characters that aren't actually there. Does this all make sense? I'm sorry if I'm that's how we went through that, and the next step was this idea of on the very top level, how do we tell the story of how we put together an event about the jam itself and make it still feel like it's one big transmedia experience. And so with that, Elise, you're a big implement in this. You made this all sort of happen. So we had the Jam website, social media. So we had Twitter, jams. Instagram jams. We had all these jam jars that were created, and people would be taking photos with them. There's a series of how to create a Transmedia Jam blog posts on our actual website itself. There were videos that were created. We were spreading the jam concept everywhere, and then developing personalities. And so you'll see there's a number of people throughout the number of months that we've been working on this. That it's
including Adam from Indiegogo. We've got Robert Pratt in here. We've got Brandon. We've got Justin. We've got Sako from Unit 9. Jen from Bayvac. Right. So we actually kind of try to really post people with it and kind of get it into our own story world. And we started about 6 weeks ago because we wanted to lead up. So, you know, there's a lot of, if you just do Transmedia Jam, hashtag Transmedia Jam, you'll find a lot of these links and a lot of these conversations.
So anyway, that's what we've been up to, and again, like I said, you know, we created the project itself as a case study of, you know, just different transmedia-based projects to understand the platforms better, to be able to be better mentors for the people that were actually there, and then on top of that, we created the event itself as a way for the community to actually start making stuff. You know, a number of, like, for me, I'm a maker. I like to just go out and make things, you know. It's like talking about it's great and all, but at some point it's like, why don't we just make something, you know? And so that's really where I come from. And so it was great to actually see things being made. It was great to see people thinking about transmedia. It was great seeing people actually start developing it and putting it together. And at the end of all of this, it's like you look back and it's like, wow, I mean, you know, not only did we do a project that was fantastic and wonderful and, like, you know, told this kind of larger story world and kind of accomplished these different tasks that we wanted, but we also created an event that, you know, I'll be honest, like, you know, all the jammers that were there, I was really happy to meet every one of you guys. It was wonderful, and
yes,
wait, we got
And we just got a tweet from people in Toronto who want to start a Transmedia Jam just right now.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's, you know, hopefully this will all start leading to bigger and better things, and
Yeah.
hopefully here in San Francisco we can be a part of that. And, you know, to all the jammers who were there, thank you guys. You know, like, I appreciated it, and it was wonderful, and I hope to, you know, be making stuff with you guys soon. And you know, I hopefully the next time that this comes around as well, like, if you've been thinking about making something, now's your chance. You know, this is a good opportunity to do something on a very sort of basic level and, you know, get right into it. So
yeah, and like, to add to that, before we say our thank yous, is that, you know, one of the things we got from the global community is that how interested they are in this, and we definitely were talking with some of the global, you know, community leaders about creating an international online jam, because I think the time's right for it, to see what we can actually as a global community bring. But we also would love to expand what we've done here. This was the first one. 2 months before we decided, because we had a great space from Fredella, and we just ran for it, and we want to see what we can do with this community and with our wonderful production team to get to the next level. Bigger jams, more people, more time even. I think 24 hours was rushed, but people managed to finish stuff, and it came up with amazing things.
I mean, there's some great communities out there, and I mean, if you're ever in different places, like Story Code out in New York is absolutely wonderful and fantastic, and we're helping out, like, from a development standpoint from us. You know, Transmedia LA have been people that we've been in contact with. I mean, there are, like, even the people that, you know, were the remote teams up in Vancouver and Seattle, they're talking about, you know, getting something going up there. I mean, this is a wonderful experience for us, and I hope that every one of us here has that opportunity to, like, you know, be a part of it, and, you know, let's make something happen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's it. So anyway, yeah. Well, mine says we got 2 minutes for questions. So does anyone have any questions about what the hell just went on? What's that?
I have that exact question.
Yes.
What the hell is going on?
Well, let me start.
I'm Michael,
Michael.
from Montreal. So I've done some transmedia projects, and I was just confused with the presentation about, like, the journey part. I think I kind of got the journey. I didn't get the end point. Is that another discussion? Are the stories up online? I didn't really get what the story was and what the end user experience was, and who actually is in the jar and who the little story person is.
So each of these,
Did I miss? I maybe I just missed it.
you kind of did, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It was in there.
I'm just gonna throw it out there quick. All right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can experience this. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that we created the stories along with it. So there's a Facebook page for the jam itself, and then you can go on there, and throughout this week we'll be putting up the links, and you'll be able to see not only the experience that we did, but the jammers' experience. So the jammers that were all here and all of
When you
their...
say experience, you mean the actual story. I'll be able to, like...
Yeah. It's not as if it's going to get a little pitch from them, so I'm like, all right, here's the thing. You're just going to be like, here I go, you know, and you're going to start experiencing it, because that's what you do, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, basically going into whatever story world they created. So if, like, our example was we used Social Samba for the second level and Conductor for the third. You're actually not going to see those platforms, but you're actually going to experience a story told by that by that platform. Either, Conductor actually, Conductor would be through email, so you won't actually see the platform, but you'll actually receive an interaction through email.
And the whole live storytelling part, was there a version of it where it was sort of in touch with the storytellers, and then I'd experience the version now that's sort of like after the fact? That's what I'm more.
Right, so we'll be wrapping that up, and that's more of like a curation type thing. So it's about like, you know, the experience of it actually coming together through the websites and the tweets and things like that. You know, part of what we're going through now is this idea of curation of what actually happened and then being able to present that in some way. And so we'll be working on that particular aspect, but yeah, you would have had the opportunity to experience it.
What's the starting point to go to all these different links?
We'll put it on the Facebook and the website and
yeah.
all of that. Yeah.
So if you're connected to the Transmedia SF, it'll be all up on there.
And the meetup.
And as well, I'm sure it'll be emailed out.
Yeah, it will be emailed out.
Emailed out! You get emails! It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, last questions, yeah.
Yeah, with your 5 different things that you got to pick
ingredients
from on the menu.
Yeah.
Was there any restriction or objective in terms of getting it on mobile, web, or anything like that?
No. And all of them were used. Yeah.
You know,
people wanted to put it on, they could print something or...
Part of the challenge with this is really the idea of you give people enough restrictions that they feel like they've got to work out of them, but at the same time not so many restrictions in which they feel like they can't expand the way that they want. And so from our end, the idea was it's like 3 of the 5, whatever it is, however it is, you know? You could have created a board game, you know? I mean, hypothetically, a physical board game that you just lie down on the table and just... That could have been your story that you wanted to tell.
So ultimately, what did the teams produce? Did they produce something that's visual, web-based content?
Yes.
They produced all of the above. They produced, there was an app. There was another experience. We're not going to showcase all of them today because that will take, and it's hard to also, because it's a very personal experience, so you do it on your mobile, you do it on Facebook, whatever method you're doing it. That's why we wanted to actually showcase the winners and also then send all the links. So you'll get all the links online.
But we're getting into that.
Yeah, we're getting into that. Yeah.
Like, you're right there.
Yeah.
Do we not have any more questions? No more questions. Cut us off. All right, great. So with that though, we'd actually like to start focusing on the jammers, the people who actually experience it themselves. We want to introduce our judges?
Yeah, so we had 3 wonderful judges. We had Jason, we had David, and Stephen. Is he here? No, he wasn't here. Stephen Flett, was he here? No, he wasn't here. Okay.
No Stephen.
No Stephen. So
his vote gets thrown out.
Yeah, he gets thrown. Yeah. So Jason was actually there on the premises as CEO for Della, but the idea was that David and Stephen got all the experiences on email, and they got to actually experience it by themselves, and then they judged it. So, the idea, and that's another reason why we haven't shown everybody that. We kind of like wanted to, showcase it tonight, and then we're going to spread all the links and all the information on how to see those experiences. So, Jason, why don't you tell us how you experienced this event, because you had like both roles.
Yeah, I was a little biased because I was there and seeing some of the creation of
Here,
the work.
I'll swap with you guys.
Want me to go there?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Over here.
Stand in the front.
I'll stand back over here.
Got a beer?
Yeah, I'll be behind this thing.
Yeah.
So I was biased because I got to see a lot of the actual creative work happen, which was awesome. Being around a lot of creative types for the majority of my professional career, it was great to see that energy. And it was almost impossible to kind of pick one over the other because there were so many kind of diverse use cases. And that's been one of kind of the great things about Transmedia for me personally is it doesn't just fit into one single box, right? It's like I said, it could be a board game, it could be really anything. So it was a really difficult thing to judge, so thank you for putting me in a horrible spot. But everything was great, and it was really cool seeing all the experiences that everyone created.
Yeah. What were some of the things that you found yourself looking for?
For me, I really liked kind of the ongoing real-time factor, right? Like, because I think that's what really kind of pulled me more into it was making this kind of suspension of disbelief that this thing is actually happening, and I'm reading about it on Twitter, or I'm reading about it on Facebook, or things are actually coming in real time to me.
What's one of the? Do you mind talking about like one of the projects that really stuck out to you? It's something that you were like,
Well, you want me to tell you who I voted for?
You don't have to. I mean, it could be somebody who didn't vote for, but
no,
I mean, like,
you know, they were all cool.
Yeah,
right? I
exactly.
mean, like, they were all really good, and there was some, like, really good things in there, and obviously it was tough to pick one particular winner. The iPhone app was probably the most impressive from a technology perspective. So being a programmer and working with programmers all day long, I know what a challenge that is to develop that, and I was, like, blown away. I was like, wow, you know, how do I hire these guys? Because it's not been working for me.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, there was some really impressive stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. And thank you for being a judge.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that it's like one of those things I'm like, can you judge this? And it's like, oh.
You know, honestly, I've judged a lot of things. I've been on a lot of panels, and this was one of the more kind of exciting things that I've ever been a part of because it was so diverse and it's so like brand new. It's one thing to be sitting on a panel and saying, oh, judge this website or judge this thing that everyone's already done a million times.
Right.
This is the early stages of it. So everyone, you know, this is a great opportunity to be involved.
Well, and you went into it as well knowing it's like, you know, these people had 24 hours from no idea to something, you know, and so you realize it's like, well, it's not going to be completely polished, you know, final product, but, you know, still rather impressive as to what they did.
Oh, for sure. I went home on Friday night. I slept like everyone else didn't, you know. I was like really blown away by everything. So.
Well, Jason, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
You know, did you want to? No, all right.
No.
All right. Did you want to come out? I got some, like similar questions and like, you know.
Sure.
Let me go over here.
This is just a table here.
Yeah, it's a nice table. Hi, I'm David.
David from Turner Media Camp.
Yeah, so I work for Turner Broadcasting. We actually have a small office here in San Francisco focused on technology and media. And we're doing this media camp thing, which is an accelerator, which Social Samba is actually in, so that's how I kind of got dragged into this. Or excuse me, how I was given this wonderful opportunity. No, it was actually just like, oh, that sounds very different. I think like Jason, I've judged things, or you know, had to give my opinion on things for a long time. I worked at Apple for a long time, and so I'm really used to looking at things and looking at lots of different products. And what was interesting, and was most exciting about this stuff was everything was different. There was no, it was not like this is like that. It's like no, every single thing was an individual creation and used technologies in different ways. It was very, very, very creative, and that was really fun to see. I think some of these are like Jason, the iOS app was interesting because it was actually an app. I knew what apps are and how they're supposed to work. Like it didn't work, but I was expected it to work. That was kind of cool, and that was kind of neat.
The best part with the app was when it wasn't working, I thought that was what it was supposed to do, right? Maybe it was. Like, I don't know, but I was just like, oh, it's supposed to do that.
I was like, I don't know if I want to actually run this app.
Right.
And I've run apps in the past that were not very good apps. But then also on the other side of things, seeing things like just amazing animation, people drawing things and doing stop action stuff, and just all of them have wonderful stories. I mean, to me, that was the undercurrent of all this was, and to me, when I did my judging, was all job one I thought, and it wasn't really even the ingredients thing, was where's the good story? Because you can do technology, and you can do fancy, you can do fancy Twitter things and feeds and web pages, but if your story isn't there and it doesn't have something interesting, it doesn't grab you, it doesn't make you actually want to know what happens next, it doesn't matter, right? I think that's the thing that all the contestants, I don't know if that's the right term, all the jammers attempted to bring to life. And I thought that was really great. Isn't it?
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was fun. I'll do it again.
All right. We didn't scare him off. So with that, I do want to say that there are some really awesome projects. There's a project that actually used Social Samba and told this intricate love triangle between, like, the hearts of San Francisco were alive. Like, they were the main characters, and it was dealing with gay and lesbian and transgender issues. It was like, it was so impressive, the scope of what everything was being built off of. It was crazy, you know? It was sort of one of those, like, this is remarkable. The iOS app that was built off the idea of what if you can actually have an app that's a little bit personalized, and what if it actually is able to start, it says, hey, you're going to get rid of me, and if you're going to get rid of me, then forget it. I'm going to delete your phone, and you got to kind of go through this. And so there's this whole experience that you start going through, and it's like, and they set up a website and a call center, and they set up all these things for you to go through and experience, and it was. For them, it was this idea about, like, how do we think about our phones and disposable technology, and how do we tell a story around that? We had another story that was about, so we had another story that was about plastic bags that were alive. It was like, it was the premise of it was like a brand new species, and like PETA was coming out, you know, saying it's like we got to save the bags, you know, and they went out and did all these like, you know, news stories and like developed these Twitter feeds and websites, and it was all about telling the story about like these bags and, you know, the protection of them, or, you know, how do we start looking at them and thinking about them. What help me out here.
Story.
Oh, that's right, and the Boots story. And the Boots people, it was really about the idea of like this boot over time, and you know, it was like sort of like the Forrest Gump of boots. And so, you know, magically this boot was brought alive, and I'm not going to ruin that whole experience for you guys, but the boot was brought alive, and then from there it was like seen throughout history, you know, and you kind of like go through it, and it was like a full Tumblr account, and, you know, again, they used Conductor to help kind of, you know, make that experience great, and they had these ideas on like how to make it a participant like production, how you can like, you know, put the boot in your own pictures and your own videos and like, you know, bring that story alive. And then
the remote team did a whole love story between a webcam and a microphone that have been working on, I think, the real world for 15 years. And actually, it's told from the point of view of them, not the real world, you know, so, or another reality show. So, you know, they had all these interactions on Twitter and YouTube, and they used Conductor to weave it together. But I mean, again, that's like the idea of, if there are no boundaries and you have all the technology, how do you work with it together to create a story that encompasses all these technologies? And we saw it time and time again with all the different creators. Yeah.
And then finally, we had I actually just want to invite them up here. I mean, for the team that's left up here, and these are our winners, by the way. Why don't you come on up here? These guys.
The Tri Group.
The Tri Group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to try and, yeah, here we go. Perfect. 3 of 4. We're on our way. And you guys actually had somebody else who was a part of you guys the night before and helped you with the stories and development as well.
Yeah, so we had kind of 4 1/4 people over the 24 hours. And the 4th person is out of town right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about your story. Tell me.
So, you know, as the, got some booklets up here for you guys from the Landmark Preservation Society for your initiation, which you're welcome to come and check out. We were, I guess, most inspired by the kind of secret history of things, and like getting access to stories that you might not otherwise hear about, and, you know, it's using the San Francisco landmarks. Eventually, after much debating and talking about things that we were interested in, so, you know, decided to think about, you know, what if these buildings, these structures used to be mythological beings or gods or powers, and then got frozen into these buildings or structures that we know today. And, you know, what if they're struggling to be, you know, freed from these bonds, or, you know, what's the interaction that's going on here? How do they become buildings? And so throughout the many hours that we spent on this, we, you know, kind of whittled it down to a couple of key points, but overall it's got a lot of, I mean, there's certainly a lot of potential for people to come up with their own stories for other landmarks, or, you know, to see the interaction between things, or, so, yeah, we really had a lot of fun with it.
And you guys also used the NFC inside of Fordella, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we're going to use QR codes, just because of the ubiquity of like having a smartphone with a camera that you can scan it. But we're also intrigued by the
NFC, the near field communication.
Yeah. So that is something that's, you know, like, same idea where you have your phone near it and it gives the phone a link or a text or something.
It's actually a chip, and it mostly is used on Android. Like Apple doesn't allow it yet, but you can actually put something on the phone or hack it in a way that it actually uses it, and all you need to do is just wave your phone next to it. So you integrated some of the stickers inside of Fordella itself, so we could actually walk around and actually have their experience on the spot, but also integrated the QR code so anybody can use it. You can just download, and here you can just download and do a QR and then start the whole pretty short but pretty awesome ARG, alternate reality game.
Yeah, and, you know, one of our ideas was to actually put these QR codes like near these landmarks and put them on the geocache sites, you know, or something that so that people could actually go to these sites and see them there. But for people who weren't in the area, or we didn't know where the judges were, so we wanted to make it a portable experience as well. So hence the booklet.
Yeah.
Michael, Kim, you guys want to add anything?
Oh, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was employing transmedia, whatever that may mean, because every time you ask someone, you get a different answer, which means it's still forming its own definition, which is fun. But so we use these technologies, QR and NFC and all these fancy things that mean something. But I also wanted to just get a story in there, something that you could understand. And the idea of this alternate history got really interesting because that history at present day is San Francisco as it is today. So it's not like if you follow that history, we'll be in an apocalypse right now. It's like these buildings are as they are. These landmarks are the same. So this is like a different way to look at them whenever you drive over them or near them or anything like that. Yeah.
Do we want to show, this is an example of one of the videos.
Oh, you have one.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear the sound, but...
The sound is amazing, by the way. So afterwards, what you really should do is, experience this. You can actually come up here and do a QR code. Or, again, this will all be up online and you can actually experience it as well. So you won't be able to really hear the sound, but there's
How do you make a QR code?
There's apps all online. Even Conductor comes with its own
so that
content for QR.
multiple videos of these.
I stand above the fog and radiate the energy of information. I longed to rule the heavens, but alas, was foiled by the plots of Triangulon. And now, your society can help me pry the controls of Triangulon with my massive gigawatts of power.
So, you guys, how many of these did you guys create?
4 total. Yeah.
So there's 4 total videos that you guys created. And again, mind you guys, they created an entire world. They did the videos, they did the QR codes.
The animation.
They did all this in the 24-hour period of time,
Yeah.
And that's great. I was walking by at one point and it was like, you guys were like, listen to this. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? That's when I was like, what can I do?
Yeah. Thank you, Justin, for
Well, yeah, no, of course. And it was like, we need one more voice. It's like, I'm in, whatever it is. But it's you guys did a really remarkable job in going through this. And like I said, go through, if you get an opportunity, check out the initiation booklet and actually scan the QR codes and go through some of the experience itself. But there's a whole world that you guys created. What was you're saying that your main thing was tell a story.
Yeah, we just talked about the story the first night. We didn't do any tech.
Yeah, that's key. In any endeavor like this, the content is always king. And it doesn't matter what technology you use, story is always going to be, the advertisers will tell you that if you present facts, facts will sell, but stories tell. And so stories always get your guard down, and so you convey information more effectively in a story format.
Well, great. So these are our winners, everyone. We made somewhat of a trophy plaque thing here. You should check it out. But yeah, so anyway, thank you guys so much, and congratulations again. You guys did such a great job. And anyone, a question?
I was curious, where are you guys from originally, and did you sleep in all
Yeah, I live in the East Bay. You're in the South Bay.
I'm on the peninsula, yeah.
Here in San Francisco.
And we did,
Well, they locked the doors on us. They kicked us out Friday night, so we had to sleep.
But and that was good to just kind of get we had a little thinking time apart from the group to kind of let it percolate and stuff, and then come back in the morning fresh and oh, I had this idea, and oh, I had this thing, and I think we really lucked out with really good complementary talents, like this great animator, and I made the sounds, and Hakeem had some really cool ideas of the story, and that was really inspiring, and
voice acting.
And voice acting, of course, and Ryan happened to have the School Earth thing that he'd already made for some other project, and so we're just oh, here, we can make a thing that does this, and so
Did you guys know each other?
Ryan and I, have been dating for a couple years, so we didn't intend to be on the same team, but he had claimed Michael, and then I started talking to Michael afterwards, and then
Nice. Cool. So, great. Any other questions?
Any questions?
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just get all of the jammers to stand up, please? Everybody that was at the jam. Everybody, I just, you know, yeah. Absolutely amazing work that came out of the jam. And I encourage you all, you know, we are Transmedia SF, so when these things go live on our website, we will tweet them. They will be on Facebook, they will be in video, we will dominate the media, right? You know, the message will be televised in 18 different ways. The other thing that I wanted to say is, you know, you got to check out the meta that this team did. Jason was actually even saying it's Inception. There's all these levels of intricacy where we are telling our own story as the creators of this jam, telling the story of the jammers who are telling the story of the sock. So we literally go from here down to the foot, right? You know, and we're taking it all the way. So it's an amazing story, and you really have to see it for the use of platforms and for the fabulous ability to tell stories. And this is an amazing team, so if anybody's looking for transmedia experts to work with, let us know, because we know the people that are going to be aces on your team. The final thing that I wanted to say before we kind of break to finish up some Thai food and have another cocktail is Transmedia SF, in honoring the biggest transmedia festival of the world, which is Burning Man, is not going to have an event next month, because our events typically happen at the last Monday of the month, and that is Burning Man. We know that we and our community will likely be in the desert, half naked,
and creating transmedia projects.
And creating transmedia projects, or showcasing our transmedia projects, which will have been created before we get there, and a lot on the fly too. So look for us in September. We've got an amazing event planned, and we look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.